everybody. It is the first week of the Advent Bible study that we're doing, and I'm posting this teaching video on YouTube so that you can watch it ahead of time. I hope that you get a chance to watch it. This is the book that we are doing, O Come, Emmanuel, an Advent study. Hopefully you will have gotten your book by now. I have a few extras if you need any. Just send me an email or a message saying that you would like to do the study with us. We are doing it on Wednesday nights at 7:30 p.m. British time, and Thursday mornings at 10 a.m. British time. So let me know. We have folks from America doing it on Wednesday nights with us because that suits their time zone, and we have loads of people on both days, so I hope that you guys will join us. I just wanted to talk a little bit about what Advent means and what the word Advent means. Advent actually means coming. It means the expectation of something happening. It means the dawning of something new, that something is like breaking in. And so that's why we call the Christmas season Advent. And you may know that your church celebrates 4 weeks prior to Advent. And so that's what we're doing, a 5-week study here. And so it means like the dawning of something, the something new. And so it is like the breaking in of God here when he came to earth. That's why we celebrate his birthday. And that's what Emmanuel means, God with us. So 2 big key words for our study that we're going to be doing. Anyway, so I wanted to talk a little bit, just to give a little bit of a background about this and why the concept of Emmanuel is important, because in the Old Testament, prior to the birth of Christ, Israel, God's people, were longing for a Messiah to come rescue them, to redeem them, to save them. And they were desperate for one. And, you know, so their generation after generation after generation like anticipated that it was going to be, you know, that like when is the Messiah going to come? When is God going to come and save us? And so, but there's this funny thing about this concept of a promise, that a promise implies that something has been guaranteed you, but there is this space between something guaranteed and that something becoming a reality. And so for Israel in the Old Testament, there was this space of time between when God made his covenant with Abraham and then when Jesus came, you know, several thousand years later. And so, and we are actually, that's called the first Advent. You know, waiting on Jesus, is waiting on the Messiah to come. We are now waiting on the second Advent, and that is for Christ to come back, which Scripture says that he will. Old Testament and New Testament says that he will come and he will reign on earth here. And so we're sort of waiting that. So Advent has, you know, some really spectacularly deep insight and roots into why we celebrate it as a church. So my question is, like, and we're going to talk about this the next 5 weeks, 4 weeks of homework, 5 weeks of meeting together, is what does this mean? Like, what does this mean? What do we do now while we're waiting? You know, we are here in 2020. By the way, this study was written in 2020 during COVID, so it's really relevant. I think it's so good. And so what do we do while we're waiting? And so one of the things that we can do is we can look back at the patriarchs and the matriarchs in the Old Testament. And we look at what did they do while they waited on the Messiah to come for the first time. And, you know, it's been a pretty crazy couple of weeks leading up to the beginning of the study. You know, we are still in the middle of COVID. We have just had an election. We have, you know, there's a lot of strife in this world. There's a lot of strife going on everywhere. And the other day I just was thinking, and this phrase came to my mind about how my heart was feeling, and the phrase was grieving in the middle. Grieving in the middle. And I thought, you know, what is that? Like, why am I thinking that? And that's sort of where my heart was at, that, you know, I don't want to go back to where I was, but I don't know where to go in the future, because there's so many problems and hurts in our world. And so it was like I'm grieving, and I felt, and I think it's okay to stay there for a little while, but if you stay there too long, it will eat you alive, and it will eat your soul up. And that's not, God actually says that we can have joy while we wait. We can have hope while we wait. So we look back in the Old Testament, and while all these people were struggling just like we are, we look back at what they do. And so the other day also 3 words came to mind in the middle of the night, and that was, I'm gonna have to read them here so I don't mess it up. Perceived, received, and conceived. Perceived, received, and conceived. And I had no idea. I was just like, I woke up, I heard, like, I thought the 3 words, and then I like went back to sleep. And I didn't know, I just didn't think any more of it. And then today in my regular reading, I was in Hebrews 11, which talks about the faith of all of God's people in the Old Testament, and how they had faith in things that they didn't see. They in the Old Testament, they had not seen the Messiah, but they had a promise, but they were living in this in-between time of the reality hasn't come yet. And so first I thought perceived is Noah. Noah perceived that, and I'll just read it right here. Noah perceived after he was warned about what was not yet seen, and oh, I don't have my glasses on, and motivated. He was motivated by godly fear. He built an ark. And so he perceived that God was getting ready to do something in his heart. So he did something insane, and he built a boat when there had been a drought. So that was a perception. God gave him a perception. The second thing is received, next section down, and that is Abraham received a promise, a covenant, which means like a bond from God. And God said, guess what, Abraham, you don't have any kids right now, but I'm going to give you so many kids. The Messiah is going to come from them. And by the way, there are going to be so many, there are going to be as many as the number of stars in the skies. You're not even going to be able to count them. And Abraham received this promise. And then thirdly, just the next section down is Sarah, Abraham's wife, who was really old in age, and she had been barren, had no kids. And actually she conceived a child, the very first star, you know, as God was talking about, the very first being that would begin to be the lineage for which the Messiah would come. And we know from Luke's gospel, the genealogy traces Jesus all the way back, not only to Abraham, but back to Adam. And so this is huge. So all these people in faith believed the promise of God. They were living in the in-between times. So that's pretty significant for us, because we may not be alive. We may have, Jesus may not come back in the next 100 years, but we are just living, you know, in anticipation, just like they did. And so what do we do while we wait on him? And that you can sort of keep in mind for this next 5-week study, is that actually God doesn't just leave us like, you're on your own. You know, I'll come back when I decide to come back. God actually makes some promises to us, and these we can count on. One, and this is week 1, is that God will be with us. Emmanuel, God will be with us while we wait. We don't have to despair, even though our circumstances are, you know, quite dire. Number 2, Jesus can make light in a dark situation. Number 3, Jesus's wisdom can show us what to do when we wait, when we don't know. Go left, go right, you know, and we're not certain what to do. And the fourth thing is that the Bible focuses on and shows us how important community is in waiting together, that we're actually not meant to do it alone, which is why COVID is so frustrating, because we are by ourselves and we can't be together with one another, which is why I think even, you know, Zoom is not my thing, but I'm willing to do it because it means in some way we are making it possible to still fellowship together. We can eat on the call together, we can, you know, make crafts, we can do whatever. And so I hope that this study will be a huge blessing to you. That is sort of it in a nutshell. I know we will have a million surprises, because I'm going to be working through, this just came, so I'm going to be working through all the weeks with you guys, and I look forward to seeing you Wednesday and Thursday of next week. God bless you. Bye.